So, I was waiting all day just to come to my studio and actually turn on the light and do my little setup and then talk about the whole Sony ZV-1 because they just released their new camera. And I was very, very excited about it, but I was also a little bit disappointed because this is how I think. I'm like looking at all the cameras and I'm like saying, okay, wait a minute. So what's the big deal? I mean, is this like a really game changer type of thing? Like, is it really, really nice? So I just made all these little stickies and I just put it in front of me and I asked myself, okay, if you're a content creator, a brand new content creator, and you're looking at all these cameras, what will you see? So Sony ZV-1, which is what I'm using, which is recording right now, is $700. At least I paid $700 for it. I think when I bought it, maybe like a month later, they released the Sony ZV-E10. That's what they released, which is the interchangeable lens. That means you can buy the body for $700 and then you can buy any kinds of lens and put it on. Then after that, they came up with the Sony 1F, which they sold for $500, which is a fixed lens, which is really, for video loggers, I mean, it's a very nice camera. Then recently they came up with a really cool camera, which I was excited. Then when I saw the price, I was so sad. I was like, oh, come on, man. It's like a cinema camera. It's really, really considered like a really cool camera. But even though Sony was talking about it and saying like, hey, listen, this is more like for video loggers, but it's for like serious video loggers. That means like if you are a YouTuber and you already are making a decent amount of money every month, then that's the camera you probably want to buy. And that body alone, not the lens, body alone is $2,000. It's over $2,000. That's it. I was very upset. I was like, oh my God, you know what? So now, just a couple of days ago, I hear they're releasing the Mark II, which is the Sony ZV-1 M2 Mark II. Like, wait a minute. This is pretty cool. And I was thinking, that's priced at $1,000. So I'm like, wait a minute. So for $1,000, what am I getting? What am I getting that I don't have on my Sony ZV-1? Okay, one, they moved, the hole where you could actually put your stand in and all that stuff, so that way you can access the battery much easier, because the Sony ZV-1, once you actually connect it in, you can't access the battery and the SD card. You have to dismantle everything, take out the battery or change the battery and change the SD card and all that stuff. I've been using the Sony ZV-1 right now for close to 2 years, and you know what? I'm totally used to it right now. At first it was really annoying because the Sony ZV-1 does not have a very good battery. Not bad, it's okay. I think that's a great change. Then that's the first one. Now the second one was really, really cool. They made the screen touch base. Before, in the Sony ZV-1, which is the camera I have, you cannot touch the screen except for the focusing. You cannot do anything else. You actually had to press physical buttons on the back of the camera in order to go to the menu up and down, which is a little bit prehistoric at this point, given the fact that it's such a great camera. So they kind of changed that. So now if you buy the new Sony ZV-1 Mark II, oh my God, I'm going to get all these names wrong. If you're going to get the M2, that's just a great feature, because if you're a new vlogger and then you're picking up this camera, instead of you pressing all these buttons, you can go straight to the screen and you can make all those adjustments. So I think that's fantastic. But one thing that they didn't talk about, and there was no improvement, was the battery. Now, wait a minute. I do understand that the camera is very small. It actually packs a big punch. It does a lot of incredible things. So that's why the battery totally runs out. Okay, it's such a great camera, and I'm using it for at least a little bit less than 2 years right now. And I can tell you, if you go to all my videos on my channel, 99% of the time, every single thing that I'm doing is out of the Sony ZV-1. So if you are a new video logger, you have these 5 cameras to choose from. I can tell you right now, the Sony ZV-1 is an excellent camera. I'm making the claim right now, and you are hearing this first. The Sony ZV-1 is still going to be one of the coolest camera in 2024. In its class, in its capacity, in its price point, it's still going to be a really cool camera. So that means, if you go to any store right now, and you'll stand there and you'll be like, okay, let's say I have a couple of $1,000s to spend, and that's it. You'll be just standing there not knowing exactly what to buy. You'll just totally go crazy. And if that ever happens to you, pick up the Sony ZV-1 for $700. Sony ZV-1 Mark 1, not the Mark II, the Mark 1. $700, maybe the price might drop. When you're watching this video, I'm sure the price may drop. And you know what? You will not be dissatisfied. It's such a great camera. Then later on, it can become your B camera. Right now I'm using it as my A camera right now. As I can save up some money, I may go for another camera, but I would go for a camera that will have interchangeable lens. They're talking about that, now it's gone to 18 millimeters, so you have much wider. You know what? I'm okay with that because I have a gimbal. I'm using a gimbal right now, and that gimbal gives me at least more than 15 inches from my face. I solved that problem. I'm perfectly okay. Now, if you're a new vlogger and you buy yourself this camera, the M2, it might make a difference for you. Absolutely. I think so. I think it's a very beneficial thing. The nice thing is the Sony people are listening to their customers. They are listening to the customers and they're making some changes, which is beautiful. But Sony's doing it because they're basically letting everybody know that they're going to be a player in this market and they're just not going to take second place. That's why if you look at it, wow, look at the amount of cameras that have come out recently. God knows what else they have in the works. But I'm telling you right now, Sony ZV-1 is still going to be a coolest camera in 2024. I said it first. So if you're a new vlogger, if you look at all the cameras, you'll be like, which one should I go for? I can tell you right now, the Sony ZV-1 is a fantastic bet. It's an old camera, but you know what? For what you need to do, it's going to do its job. I think I was actually joking with some friends of mine, and I was telling them, you know what? I think in Sony company, somewhere in the basement, there are two guys sitting down and they got demoted. I mean, their salary went up, but their office got demoted because they were responsible for making the Sony ZV-1 camera. And they did such a great job that the upper brass is basically saying, man, you guys did such a great job with the Sony ZV-1. No matter what else we make, it simply cannot match up with the Sony ZV-1. It's just a joke. That's not true, but it's just a joke. So, you know, if you are new to vlogging, my take is, listen, think about it. Take a piece of paper, make a list of items that you really need. I want to buy a camera. What should I spend on? So when you're having a camera and when you're video logging, this is basically what you're doing, is you're sitting down just like this, right here. I have a light over here. And I have my camera right there on a tripod, so it's not moving around, and then that's what I'm doing. And that's the other thing that I also want to bring up in my video right now with you guys is learn editing software. I don't want you to buy the camera and see that everything is going to be done inside the camera, because then, in that case, then just buy a really cool phone, because that's all you really need. But if you're going for a camera, you go for a nice camera, but don't go for all these gimmicks, because that's not the fun part, you know? The fun part is you get a nice camera so that you can shoot some really good footage. And then you take that footage and you're putting it into your computer. And that's where the magic happens. And that's what you need to be learning how to do.